Greetings, Guardians. My name is Bife here. Season of the Witch starts with probably one of the most important moments in Destiny's story for Eris Morn. She's always been a prominent character whenever the Hive resurface in the narrative, but now it feels like she is undertaking an entirely new path. Perhaps it started when she bound us in ceremony to the Crown of Sorrow. Perhaps it started when she embraced the power of stasis. Perhaps it was when she found the resolve to forge the Touch of Malice. Perhaps it was even as far back as when she first retook her sight, deep in the Hellmouth. Whatever the moment that was the tipping point, it's all led to this. Eris Morn has ascended into a Hive god. She has stepped beyond anything we might ever have imagined, and grasped power that we now require not only to defeat Xivu Arath, but also to save the universe from the Witness. Today I wanted to chart some of those moments that led Eris down this path to becoming a Hive god. I also wanted to talk about something right off the bat that I think otherwise people are going to miss, which is this. Eris's transformation isn't permanent, as some of the cutscenes might imply. It is one of those things that certainly looks permanent as her limbs twist and contort, but it needs to be noted it is not permanent, and there are moments in the lore where that is stated. Let's start off with all of that, and let's talk about that key fact. These transformations are temporary. I know it might be a shock, but they are momentary manifestations of the Hive power that Eris is nurturing. Take a listen to these few excerpts from various bits of lore from the seasonal activities and from missions, and you'll see the dialogue that shows us just this.
Eris, you have to take time to rest. These transformations, you know I don't like this. I don't like what you become.
I understand your concern, Ikora. But I wonder, if I am subsumed and remain Hive, would you still be concerned for my well-being?
Of course I would.
Let us hope that claim is not tested.
Savathun really thinks some half-Hive halfwit can take out his sister. We're all doomed.
Say that again. Eris will survive this, but believe me, you won't survive Eris.
You're all bluffing. You can't crush me. I'm too important.
For now, but your freedom of movement is a privilege, and we have a crate just for you.
Eris is having the time of her life. She'll never give up being a Hive.
Yes, she will. The sooner we can get this done, the sooner she can finish this.
I wouldn't be so sure. I see that look in her eyes when she gets those tithes. And you see it too.
So now we know a crucial little bit of context. Eris is temporarily transforming into a half-Hive human hybrid. Say that 10 times fast. This only happens when she receives tithes and channels the purpose of the sword logic. We can see more confirmation of this by a really simple factor. Eris's voice changes when she is transformed. This is her voice within the transformation.
Hail the Deathless One! Hail the wielder of the Eternal Sword! Hayat!
And this is an example of her voice under more normal circumstances.
Hive magic reveals itself in precise shapes. They follow the same lines and the same means.
Both those clips, by the way, are taken from after the transformation that we see in the opening cutscenes of the Season of the Witch, so we know this to be true. As a result, we understand this. Eris is actively changing every time we make a tithe successfully. That in itself is perhaps even more troubling given the clear toll that it's bound to take on her. The transformation itself is being conducted properly, as best we know, of this much we can be fairly certain, but I don't think it can be anything other than a painful experience of such metamorphosis. Twisting of bones and cracking of limbs, it all seems fairly traumatic. Remember that Oryx, Savathun, and Xivu Arath only had to undergo One such metamorphosis, I suppose two in the instance of Oryx, although that last one was more of a ascension and a gifting of power than a physical change. Eris, within the span of even the first few days of this season, will have undergone this transformation countless times. This does also inevitably bring about those discussions of whether Eris will remain as a hive permanently or whether she will reject it once our part in this season is complete. I should preface this by saying that I do trust Eris's ability to wield such power and not fall to its temptations, even though a few other people within the season certainly do not. However, I am also of the opinion that with Savathun involved, we probably aren't going to be in a position where we know everything about this process, and I think it's likely that there is some kind of hidden trap within the mechanisms of Eris's transformation, or even just the purpose by which she transforms, to weaken Xivu Arath and allow Savathun to return. I cannot imagine that this path was dictated to us without the involvement of the Witch Queen in some way. Imaru likely doesn't want to just clear out the brood of Xivu Arath, he probably wants to fight to ensure that some other plan of Savathun comes to fruition, and my fear is that it might involve Eris. Even so, with such dangers being made clear, Eris has been treading a path to this moment for a long time. It all started long ago, beside her friends, as she battled against the Ahamkara in the Great Hunt, and first took a trophy from one of those beasts. It would have then progressed to the moment where she desired vengeance, when Eriana III saw her beloved murdered at the hands of Crota, and they both swore revenge. After the fire team she joined perished in the Hellmouth, and after her ghost, Briar, gave her life to save her guardian, Eris would have been set on this path for sure. This would have been the moment that she consulted the Clutch, the remnants of bone of that Ahamkara, the moment at which she knew to claw the eyes from an acolyte, to regain sight, although not quite sight as we would know it. Her task from then on would be to enact vengeance against the Hive, against Crota, Omnigul, Oryx, Savathun, Xivu Arath, and any other who might rise to bring such pain to humanity. She would seek revenge, and we would oblige her. First, we prevented Crota returning by shattering his forces and the bindings that would have allowed him to manifest once more within the moon. Then, she would demand that we ventured forth into the dark below and travel into Crota's throne world to kill him once and for all. Even after this murder, Eris knew the source of the Hive's malice wasn't completely undone, and so the Bane of Crota turned her sights on Crota's father, the Taken King. Together we destroyed him too, and from his remains we took a great degree of dark power. Whether it was the shard of his blade known as Willbreaker, which we refashioned into a sword of our own, or whether it was the calcified fragments, which not only took us on a journey to learn the Books of Sorrows, but also would be combined with the rotting remains of Oryx's ravenous heart. This moment for Eris would, I think, be the most true turning point. She had tasted vengeance. She had exacted it on her greatest foes, and in this moment there was a point at which she would have been able to choose to simply turn away. As she began to understand a weapon that she could craft from the remains of the calcified fragments and the Taken King himself, she wondered how far she would go to see her vengeance fulfilled. Her ponderings on such a choice are displayed in the grimoire card of the weapon that she would eventually create, the Touch of Malice. Here am I, with the power to craft from my enemy's darkest secrets a weapon that could wound them at their core. So what stays my hand? When I behold the interiority of these cold fragments, I see blind, squirming creatures. Every wound they give, they feel also upon themselves. Every bite they tear from the light only deepens, never fills, the raging emptiness behind their terrible mouths. The voices are as loud as ever, the nightmares just as bitter. My coal-black hatred burns as hot, but I feel something else now. Could it be? No, I refuse it. I will build this weapon. Let them feel every lash, every curse, every touch of malice that they first dealt to me. In this moment, Eris refused to feel pity and refused to succumb to mercy. She chose instead to be the vanquisher. She chose instead to be the bane of all the Hive, no matter the cost, even if it meant using their own power against them. She would not hesitate. In Shadowkeep, she overcame the pain of loss that they inflicted, confronting it at our side and dispelling the darkness of the Pyramid of Luna. In the months that followed, she would enter that pyramid once more and embrace its power, channeling stasis and the darkness for the first time. With the assistance of the Exo Stranger, she would not fall to its corrupting influence and would gain new insight and a new tool to deal with the Hive. In the Season of the Haunted, after carving Savathun's corpse to chitinous ribbons, she would wield the secrets required to bind the Crown of Sorrow to herself and to us. She would use this dark power to liberate us from our own past demons, and to see Keitel take yet another step towards achieving vengeance of her own against her own father. Here, at last, in the Season of the Witch, she has come to what feels like an ultimate point in her journey. All her decisions, all the enemies she has conquered, all the pain she has endured has led to this moment. And now she successfully proclaims herself to be something more.
Tied unto the god of vengeance, Hayat!
Eris Morn has not simply become some minor Hive deity, she has claimed her dominion. Just as she has done to the Hive always, it is vengeance. She has become the fourth Hive god. This is her story, and this is her power. As Oryx was the curious navigator king, determined to unravel the secrets of the universe. As Savathun is the god of lies and deception, determined to live a long life through guile and cunning. As Xivu Arath is the avatar of war, determined to see all life either silenced by the blade or to become one with those who swing it. Eris Morn now takes her place amongst the Pantheon. She is the god of vengeance, determined to bring a righteous fury to the Hive so that they might feel every lash, every curse, and every touch of malice that they first dealt to her. This is only the start of Eris's story. We'll be talking more about it as time progresses, but perhaps more importantly, we'll be looking at the gospel of this newly arisen god. The next few videos will be taking a moment to dive into a bunch of different lore, but I know one of them is going to be diving into one of the most intriguing lore books that I think we've received in years. We'll be talking about the Sororicide lore book, and into its contents, including the newly penned 8th Book of Sorrow, written by Eris Morn herself. But that is all for today. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and do all the typical algorithm things. Go ahead and subscribe, leave a like, let me know what you think in the comments section down below. We'll be talking opinions on Eris Morn this entire season, I think. For the moment though, I want to get an idea of what the consensus of the community is. Do you reckon that Eris is in a place now that she has embraced too much power in? Or do you reckon that you, much like I do, still trust her, and believe that she is of course still working for us? This is one of those moments of which I think it's less about whether I trust Eris and it's much more about whether I distrust Savathun. And whilst I know Eris's intentions, and I believe her to certainly be capable of control, I don't know how far the Witch Queen is willing to go to screw around with us, and at that point I feel like we might be in trouble. That's my only kernel of doubt. As for the rest of it, though, remember that you can also hit subscribe for more Destiny content and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications. But as per usual, know that your viewership as always is quite enough for me, and that in the meantime, my name is Byf. Perodasya Arastra. I'll see you, Starside.